Hello, Eric Walczykowski, CEO of Bespoke Partners and host of Tailored Talent. I'm joined again today by Vitaly Gordon, CEO and founder of Faros AI. Vitaly, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's follow the thread now. So I often say in our organization, the technology oftentimes is the easy part. It's the human adoption that is the hard part.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing around best strategies. I go all in on a tool, actually getting the team to adopt it.
So I would say, and this is where my opinion is where leaders can today actually create the most value for their organizations is like, look, take whatever function, you're head of sales, you're, head of marketing, you're the CEO. Like at this point as a head of sales, sure, you can go and implement some, new sales process, move from bend to medpic, whatever. None of these things will be as impactful if getting your team to use AI, because especially we're now still in a time where you might actually accrue a lot of competitive advantage if your competitors are not there yet. So I think, and this is again, I'm using an analogy here, is like, imagine if you you are in an organization and just the personal computer just came out, and you have people who in your finance team that are creating spreadsheets by hand, right? Where there is like Excel is now available, right? Like this is again would be completely unacceptable, right? If you have because this is like an order of magnitude, is not more of impact. So I think like most leaders, the best they can do is like take any task. And by the way, this is what's great about some of this technology. You weren't able to really ask Excel on how to use Excel to the task, but like you can go to any type of kind of a chat model today and say, hey, I have a task now. Can you tell me like how can I leverage any one of these tools to help me to do this task, and kind of go really meta? So what I do as a CEO in my organization, if someone shows me a slide or a document that is like it's clear that it was written by a human and they have not consulted AI, I stopped the meeting. I said, hey, you know what? Let me run your slide through AI. And like in 5 seconds, I get like a version that is 5 times better. Why didn't you do it? Like, why do I need to do it for you? And, at least with me, after, going through this exercise once or twice, every single now document that is shared in a meeting with me is now at least was reviewed. And, once I kind of clear that, I go to the next level saying, hey, here's another thing you could have done with AI. And just, I keep, because quite honestly, I don't think there is much better things that I can do today as a CEO of a company.
No, absolutely. And it's funny, we actually are in the process right now of writing our 2025 strategic plan. And we went through a very similar exercise where we humans did a ton of analysis. And then we actually went to AI and actually fact checked market sizing, turnover rates, a number of our key variables that we look at in our industry. And it's astounding the information you get back and the quality of the information today. And it's getting better every day.
It is truly amazing, and it only gets better. So I'm saying there is just just no excuse of not using these tools.
When we talk about a smaller business and CEOs driving the change, we get that. But a number of our larger companies have come to us and said, hey, we need a head of AI. Can you talk to me a little bit about that role, the importance of that role in a $500 million software company? Is that a necessary role? And if so, what are the key attributes you would look for in that person?
So I would say, and in every one of these like large transformations, there is like a a new CXO title being created, and I've never seen it kind of really last. And I'm talking about, we need the chief data officer, and we need, and like I think that by now I've been like in the industry kind of long enough to see that I'm a little bit skeptical on saying like, hey, if we just appoint some person, I think that probably is you kind of can't in some cases teach kind of old dog new tricks, as the saying goes. However, I think you can demand, and I can tell you that today every single new hire that we're making sure that this person is curious about AI, right? If we are now hiring a new head of marketing, head of sales, they need to be curious. I'm not saying they need to be expert, but like if you're kind of going about your job and not acknowledging that, our world is changing, then that's probably like, the wrong hire. And so that speaks. So I would say that, probably start with the new hires, and then little by little, I think either, all of your people. And by the way, another thing that comes with it is I tell my executive team is like, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not pushing enough. I'm saying like, I want, kind of sometimes we will have a meeting and say, you know what, we screwed up. Like we kind of relied on AI too much and we shouldn't have and, and actually still today, I'm saying I'm not hearing it enough, meaning that I still have concerns about my team is not leveraging AI enough.
100%. We did talk about this role, and I thought it was interesting that you used the example of Tesla, right? The car industry being an old line industry, leveraging innovation and actually making the product better. Some of the requests we get are from old line companies that are actually using or looking to use AI to transform their business. And so I got your point about each new hire you make in the organization have an AI filter. But what about an AI czar looking across the organization, similar to maybe what the chief digital officer that was all the rage 5 to 10 years ago, and these old line companies selecting someone like that to help them?
Yeah, so I don't want to discredit this idea. I'm just like maybe naturally a cynical person, and I can just say that like I find almost like a reverse correlation because the companies that have like hired these people versus the companies that try to do it a little bit more organically, I think just anecdotally from my thing. So yeah, it could be like, an AI czar. I think it's really more important to empower everyone else, because in some cases, and by the way, we work with those companies as well, they put everything on one person and then expect miracles, but they don't empower that person enough. So I'm not saying there is no way to do it. I'm saying like in most of the cases that I've seen it is like it's almost like, whether it's the CEO or someone, they're kind of like avoiding the responsibility by saying, oh, I hired a person, my job is done. And then, that person really doesn't have influence over anything because they go with the head of sales and they're saying like, oh, you should use AI more, and saying, well, do you want me to hit my number or do you want me to use AI more, right? And basically at that point, the conversation stops.
No, absolutely. But I think we can both agree that AI is going to be ubiquitously important across industries going forward. And so every company should be considering how they're going to use it.
Definitely. There is not, anything even close to the transformation that, will happen with AI. And this is like where, like I'm all in, and like I said, I'm just stopping meetings, in the middle just because someone has not used AI enough. So I don't think we will, see in our lifetime something that will have as much impact as AI. This is a great time to live in, and I think like there will be also a lot of companies that I think can be kind of resurrected, because if you think about like the winners of the, let's say, cloud transformation, like it wasn't like AOL and Cisco. Both are kind of everything. Cisco is a great company, right? But like in the same way that I'm trying to draw an analogy, everyone's looking at like Nvidia and OpenAI as like and these companies will be continue great companies, but there will be also companies that will kind of embrace that change better than others, and they can create a significant kind of advantage over the companies that are slower to embrace that change.
No, that's really helpful. And so as I look at this, if I'm not going to hire an AI executive to lead the transformation, hiring a consulting firm is another option. And we've talked about your prowess in engineering, making the engineering process more efficient and effective. If I'm looking at AI consultants across other functions or other disciplines, what are some key things I want to watch out for around, hey, this person or this organization really knows what they're talking about around transformation versus this person is doing research on the internet and using the buzzwords. They're not able to help me.
Well, so I would say, and this is kind of funny that you mentioned it, because one thing that we find is just like have them tell you about how they use AI to actually, completely transform their own business, right? And see whether you find it, insightful, right? Or whether it's like, oh, that is like clearly I could have gone to Twitter and get, some of these ideas. And this is where I think it's actually kind of should be fairly simple, because you will learn after some time talking to some of these consultants, whether they're kind of telling you about something that someone else has done. Like, to me, is like, if you're really kind of come and like I said, I see it a lot with kind of the hires that we're making. And when I talk about people who are curious about AI, like, everyone now kind of understands that in their position they should use AI. But like, like I'll just give you an example. And again, this is not about the consultant, but we were hiring a head of marketing, and one of the candidates, instead of like sending me a resume, like trained a GPT on all of the talks and all of the information on the internet that they gave us, and send me that GPT so I could converse with him before the interview, asking all the questions that you might ask. Is like, hey, like, where have you worked? Tell me about yourself. Like, all of these things were just, I loved it so much. And, we ended up hiring that person. So that was kind of some of these things. And this is obviously, an extreme example. Not everyone will be like that. But like, it should kind of, ooze out of them, like, because, you just need, with a consulting firm, just hire one of them. So, just make sure it's the one that is just clearly passionate and curious about the topic.
No, fantastic. Well, as we think about 2025, and let's just think about the organization, whether it's sales, marketing, engineering, human capital, or finance, what do you see as some of the big trends for 2025 around AI and the use of AI?
I think the trends will continue that, like, on a board level, like, you should question, every single function that, let's say, comes up with the last year's plan, right? Like, and this is, again, I'll give an example. If someone just wants to, like, hey, let's increase, especially for tasks that are scaling with the number of people, like, let's say, like customer success, right? Or sales development, right? These are functions that, usually you kind of attach some quota, to a person, and then you kind of multiply by the number of people. And for me, if someone kind of, comes in with that plan, is they clearly kind of have not adjusted to kind of the new world where, like, you can actually do so much more with AI. And what I want to see are plans that, how can you do, like, 100% more with, 10 or 20% more resources? And that is actually, the efficiency gain. And then you say, hey, you know what, actually, like, the reason why I can get that efficiency gain, because we have identified free AI tools, right, that, could solve these problems and all that. So, like, that is, I think, probably, great time to be a CFO, because you can actually kind of apply this time. Now, I'm not saying like, not every single tool will work, but the mindset needs to be that this kind of linear, or even in some cases kind of sublinear, because obviously, at a certain scale, you need to add, like, you need to double your headcount in order to get like 50% increase in productivity, right? Those plans, should kind of be removed from kind of existence as AI gets better.
No, that's fantastic. Well, Vitaly, thank you so much for your expertise on AI. Really appreciate you coming on and talking about this important topic.
No problem. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you. Have a great day.